So my name is Krista Reiniger. I'm the founder and CEO of Silver Lining, and we work with incredible business owners around the world. And we really believe now more than ever that when a small business succeeds, families succeed, jobs are created, communities succeed, economies succeed. And we're seeing in the midst of COVID so clearly how small business is so integral. And in the midst of this conference where we're all talking about how important small business is and how we're going to rebound and adjust, I'm so pleased to be interviewing, that's probably the wrong word, introducing Jacqueline and Cicely, who are real business owners, who are real leaders, who are facing the reality. And we're going to talk frankly about, what it means to be a business owner right now in this moment, and what we need from corporations, right? What we need from all of you who are listening to get through this moment in a way that is productive and helpful and, gets us all to the other side. So just to start, I'm going to ask each of you guys to introduce yourselves. So who are you and what does your organization do? We'll start with Jacqueline. And just as a preface for this, Jacqueline runs an amazing nonprofit, which she'll tell you about. And I've always held the belief that whether you file your taxes as a for-profit or not-for-profit, running a small organization is really the same, right? You're dealing with financial realities and trying to create an impact and staffing and marketing and growing. And I believe that that is true. So I'm excited to have Jacqueline here representing that point of view.
Great. Thank you, Krista, for having me. It's so nice to be here today and to be able to shed a little bit of light on this, especially as it relates to the charity sector. So to start, I'm Jacqueline Lindsay. I am the co-founder and CEO of kindness.org. We are a research-led nonprofit taking scientific findings and turning them into real-world programs and applications to cultivate kindness in classrooms, communities, and workplace settings. We do this work first by beginning with the academic side of what we can understand about things like kindness, compassion, and empathy, and how that can translate into problem solving and what it looks like to leverage these tools that every human has the capacity for, and ultimately build a kinder world through what we find and discover.
Amazing. Thank you. Kindness is amazing. It's one of my favorite organizations. And Cicely, tell us about you.
Well, my name is Cicely Williams. Again, thank you, Carissa, for having me here today and allowing me to share, I guess, my story and how I'm affected and things that, I've seen helpful and things that I feel that we can, businesses can do to help the small business industry. I'm the president of BCB Construction, and we are a woman-owned, minority-owned construction company. And our mission is to bridge the gap between affordability and luxury. So we look to revitalize communities by restoring, one block at a time. We also, want to have an impact, a positive impact on lives by bridging gaps within our community, bridging gaps within, the industry, and also bridging gaps between, in the lives of our employees. So we seek out to find those unmet needs. I find it, all too often that in the affordable home market, it's just, it's the bare minimum that's given. And I think that those individuals in those communities, deserve to have, the luxuries that typically you may not see until after gentrification happens. So, we try to go in there. I'm from New Orleans, so, I'm a part of one of those communities. I've witnessed, catastrophes come through and have those, communities try to develop but not have the resources, and currently in Houston, going through a similar thing. So, that's very important, a very important mission for our company as a construction company.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You guys are both doing such amazing work, honestly. And I think I want to start this conversation with that premise, right? We are in the middle of a global pandemic. It's real. There's a lot going on, and I get it. But at the heart of the small business problem or opportunity, whatever you want to call it, is incredible human beings like you two who, I know for a fact, right, have dedicated your life and have sacrificed like crazy before this pandemic to build your organizations. And then now you're facing, quite frankly, almost unreasonable or really unreasonable circumstances, and you continue to fight. And I think, if I could challenge everyone listening, this is not about a bunch of statistics, right? This is not about making sure your customer, attrition rate isn't too high. This is about people like Jacqueline and Cicely and their stories and their realities. And I have just been so incredibly inspired by people like you two, who are doing such great work and are ferocious and committed and will not give up despite the circumstances you're in. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what you guys do. And I hope that everyone listening stops thinking about small business as a category and starts remembering that it's about people like Jacqueline and Cicely, and not just them, but the work they do and the impact that they have. So thank you both. You're both really amazing. So Cicely, let's go back to you first. The question I want to ask both of you is, this is a real situation. This has been incredibly difficult in recent months. What's the impact been on your business and on you?
I think the major impact that our business, that we're seeing is, I guess, pre-COVID, we had a lot of, investors that, visions aligned with our vision. So we were able to get that support to invest in those communities and help revitalize those communities. And we also did a lot of work in the government sector as well. So, post-COVID, what we're seeing is that, a lot of investors, they at this time, they want to hold on to their liquid, to their funds. So they're not seeking or to give out, or invest in those type of situations where they're not going to get a return. And, government entities are also like reallocating their funds as well. So, that's been hard trying to maintain, one of the biggest portions of our business, our missions of revitalizing the community. And also, changing the face of the affordable housing market through a lot of the government contracts that we have. So we haven't had those opportunities. So it's been hard trying to come up with new ways and new ideas to not only to sustain our business, but to also, give back or help the communities that are also going through similar situations, but just on a different level. We also, we've struggled, I guess, in the housing market. On the government side, there's a lot that we as construction companies have to do, to make sure that our employees are safe, to make sure that the homeowners that we're servicing are safe. There are a lot of guidelines that are put in place, but as a small business, we don't necessarily have the resources that larger companies have to set up those type of guidelines and programs and implement everything that's needed to be implemented in order to make sure that we are, operating according to the guidelines and the rules, and that we're being safe and make sure that we're protecting each other. So that's been a challenge, just, trying to develop that side of the business, something that we hadn't had to do, to make sure that we are, tracking everyone that's going into the home, making sure the homes are safe, wiping them down, making sure our employees are not putting them at risk. So it's been challenging to make sure that we are still in operation, but also, making sure that we are putting the necessary steps in place. So that's been a huge challenge, and also just watching our employers and in the community struggle through this and not being able to help, whether it's from just, on a daily basis, I may have, someone that works for me that calls in that, may be dealing with COVID or may have been exposed to somebody that has it. So they haven't been able to come into work or have to quarantine themselves. And it's important to make sure that I stay in contact with them, make sure that they're okay, and also watch the community. The community is struggling through the same thing as well, and seeing that they don't have, a lot of them that we service don't have the necessary resources to make sure that they are taking, the proper steps to keep themselves safe. So it's a financial strain. It's a mental strain as well, and it's just it's a lot just going on in our communities right now.
I always say that, and I said this much before COVID, running a small business is like a Herculean effort, right? I mean, it is like a mini miracle that any small business makes it, because it is the tenacity required to run a small business and manage all the elements is Herculean on the best of days. And we have just been delivered this absurd, extra element that, what I just, it is so phenomenal. Every single small business that is surviving this and fighting is, it's heroic in my mind. And you're articulating so many of these additional challenges that make what was already hard really hard. Jacqueline, how about you? I know that you've also been faced with lots.
Yeah, and Cicely, thank you for sharing that story and journey. And I just commend the work you're doing, and I'm in awe that a company like you exists. And I'm so hopeful that you are going to be able to persevere through this time, because thank you doing this work. So our journey is a little different in that the charity space, like every sector, had severe implications through the pandemic. And the implication on our side was, unless you fit in the bucket of one of a few things that a lot of donors and dollars are being concentrated on, funding has been significantly cut, if not eliminated, for so many people. And that looks like, in this case, what CSR your company might be doing, what corporate social responsibility you might be doing in the audience, it's probably drastically shifted. This is not only due to the pandemic, but quite frankly, everything that has happened with the Black Lives Matter movement and how companies are feeling, I think, rightly so, and overdue a sense of responsibility of what they are doing to play a critical role in solving some of these problems, or at least helping to advance these missions. And so we're a very small nonprofit, focused intentionally on how to be lean but do work at scale. So the way that we were affected was a little different in that we had already started moving into being a virtual team. My board and the people I was working with did live in many different places around the world. So the virtual side wasn't hard for us to transition to. Basically, I just started working from home instead of in a WeWork. Our experience has been a few things. We lost significant funding pretty much right away throughout the month of March. And whereas we had a really strong year in front of us that felt verbally confirmed, like everyone, the minute you get that switch of funding loss, investment loss, the uncertainty of what was ahead of us, donor dollars are the first usually to go, because people are nervous and scared, and generosity isn't usually the thing you lean into in those times. But it's the most needed. It is the generosity. It is the people willing to say, I want to ensure that whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, small business, charity, that I am advocating for those people to survive through this, because often we're the ones serving up the solutions. We're on the front lines in very unique ways. And I say this with the gentlest of delivery, but often our heart and intention is for the greater good of humanity and to figure out how to serve people. And it's not about the profit. It's not about, the bottom line. Certainly that's important. We're business women, we're entrepreneurs. So I am not in any way minimizing that we have to prioritize that, but it is about how we stack rank our priorities and what's driving us every day. And I think that's the gumption of being a small business owner that is very unique, is we're in this to fight till our last dying breath for the people we serve. And that's, well, at least for me, I'll say my purpose, and I can already sense, Cicely, your purpose, and Chris, I know you, and I know that's your purpose. So the shift is, how can I persevere? That's what I had to go through in March. Do I have it in me? I'm 8.5 months pregnant. My husband's a stay-at-home dad with my first child, giving me the time and space to be able to concentrate on kindness.org. And March was frankly about soul searching. It was about literal financials and just living in spreadsheets and figuring out if, under the assumption no dollars are coming in, how do we continue? What's the greatest need? What's the most meaningful way we can contribute? And do I have it in me to get us through this? Knowing everything I'm up against right now. So I said yes. And I said, I'm going to persevere until there's no money left. I took a salary cut down to minimum wage. I had to sit with anyone that I was working with to say, I can't pay you much, but I can give you a mission to work for. Every single one of them stayed on. And that's where we're at. We are in a place of fighting with everything we have to say the work we're doing matters and is necessary. Kindness is needed more than ever, arguably. And we've just pivoted and adapted our outputs to better support the needs of the world right now. So what does kindness look like in a crisis? What does kindness look like around supporting our civic responsibility, around advocating for equality of all human beings? What does kindness look like in a classroom setting as we head back to the fall with the literal minute by minute changing landscape that the education space is facing? So that is how we're showing up, but that is also the difficult way that we've been affected by this time.
You know, I'm actually feeling really emotional right now. I believe so much in any and every human who takes risks like you two have and who perseveres in the way that you're describing. And I think what's being missed right now, right, as we talk about the economy and as we talk about the stock market, as we talk about politics, and as we talk about, you know, the response and the rebound and the recovery, I just think we're missing the truth, the stories, the realities, right, of women like you who are making hard decisions every day that impact your staff and your family and your finances, and you are choosing to persevere. And the idea that the response to your reality, right, is a resource center or a, you know, tone deaf email that says, I stand by you. It's so, the response is so ill matched to the reality of business owners. You know, your two stories as great examples of them. So can you just reflect on that? You know, when you watch what the average sort of corporation is doing, who we all know has, you know, cash flow for months or years and resources and executives making tons of money, and you know that that's the reality. And it's not to take away from the fact that this is hard for people that work in big companies too. I don't want to diminish that for everyone who's watching, right? But when you think about sort of the version of what their reality is compared to the version of what your reality is, and then the response that, you know, small business providers, small business, you know, companies have done, how does it feel? Is there examples of it going well? Is it feeling pretty inadequate? What's your guys' experience been?
I think that, and I guess I'll preface it by, I am a small business owner. I'm a woman, small business owner, but I'm also an African-American woman as well. So, you know, a lot of things that I think corporations are doing now for small businesses and targeting, you know, for African-American businesses or minority businesses, you know, due to the Black Lives Matters movement. I don't think that it's, I guess they're reaching their intended target, I could say. I see a lot of changes that are being made, and like you said, a lot of emails and a lot of support, but there isn't, I don't feel the impact. I don't see the impact in my community. I don't see the impact. I'm a part of a group of small business owners. And then we meet and we talk about different things that we're doing and we try to collaborate. And so I don't see it impacting them either, even if it's a dollar amount, if it's a donation, because if they're just giving money without some structure around it and identifying first what the needs are, you know, what are the stumbling blocks? What are the roadblocks that's preventing a small business like myself or any small businesses from having the success that they, you know, deserve, or being able to, you know, make the impact that they would like to make on a wider scale? So by not having that structure and just giving money to, you know, to say that we did our part, they're missing the mark in that way. They're not, like I said, affecting their intended target. And that's, you know, that's something sad to see, because I think that the intentions may be there, but by not taking the time to see what type of need we actually, you know, what type of needs we actually have, by doing what you're doing, Carissa, today, and actually speaking to us and saying, how can they help us? I think that's very important. And I think that's very needed for us to survive through this, through Jacqueline's nonprofit, which is great. I say, just kindness is needed. And in order to do what you're doing and to have that impact, you'll need that support. But without having those conversations and identifying what those needs are, then you won't be able to get that support that you need where you are right now in your business. So, and I won't be able to get the support either. So that's what I'm seeing a lot. That's kind of a lot, somewhat disheartening to me, because it is a lot being done, but the impact is not there.
Oh, that is so well said. The number of times I've got so many of my friends have heard me lament for months. Like, if you think about how much time and money is being spent to help small businesses right now, right? I mean, it's a mind-blowing amount of time and money that is being sent out, whether it's through the PPP program or corporate donations or just marketing dollars, ad campaigns. I mean, it's so much money. And if we could just get that money into the hands of people like you guys, right? What you could do with that money would change the world. And that is what is so frustrating to me right now. So thank you. That's very well said, Cicely. How about you, Jacqueline? What are you seeing, and what's missing and what's hitting the mark in terms of your real needs?
From the 30,000 foot view, I will say that in being someone who tries to have like a silver lining to everything, you can't escape the limelight. We're no longer in a world where you as a company can get away with anything. I think there's accountability in a new way that just we've never really experienced. It is unprecedented. And due to that, actions speak louder than words. And what I mean by that is, what I have most appreciated are the people who are not publicly doing their marketing campaign to say, look at how amazing we are at this donation we're giving over here, but it's the actions that they're taking to sit and listen, whether that's hosting roundtables that I know some companies have done, or this was quite public, but all the companies that stepped up to stop the hate for profit throughout the month of July and giving ad dollars to Facebook. And, these are real things that I hope, whether the intention is for it to be publicity or not, you're still taking the action. And I am hopeful that will create a new kind of conversation that's happening internally in the boardroom. I think it had to happen, but I was actually quite surprised at how many executives took huge salary cuts in the face of the pandemic. It's required for someone like me, probably you as well, Cicely. It's like required because that's just what's left in the bank. And
that's right.
So you're just like, great, that's my reality. But it is a hard pill to swallow, and executives are making those 20 million plus salaries every year, and no, it probably isn't a hard hit to take off 25% of that. But the more that I saw executives just stepping up to say, I will do this to save the team or to help prevent furloughing or layoffs or what have you, those were some of the things that I was encouraged by. Now, that's my high level, just applaud anyone who at least tried to do what felt like the right thing during this time. Practically speaking, it still is very clear that so much of this is a gimmick. And where you saw a lot of great things trying to be done, the reality is you were still getting those emails that were just like, yeah, we stand with you. What does that mean? And how does that actually help minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses? When I think of that translation, that to me is where the disconnect comes from, because that's not actually helping. And what needs to happen is a lot more listening. and a lot more learning versus being in a room on the marketing side, figuring out, okay, what's the right word we can use in our subject line, and how can we A/B test the heck to make sure that people know we're still a good company, and we're, I just feel like that's where the irresponsibility of being a big business, it fails. It falls on you, and it's your responsibility as a large business, large corporation who has much more cash flow and endless chances to survive through this, to really figure out how are you going to show up and be the company that's going to stand 10 years from now, because you prioritized and focused on humans and not the bottom line. And that goes against what a lot of business people would probably say matters. But I think we can all agree, if the roles were reversed, if anyone was sitting in the chair of figuring out how to continue to serve the communities that someone like Cicely is serving, you best believe you'd probably be demanding the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now, is demanding of the people who have the deeper pockets, the capacity to do something about this, to really figure out boots on the ground. How are we going to get in there and do the dirty work to help ensure that we're also coming alongside people, listening and helping them to persevere?
Oh, you guys, I love everything you're saying so much. I feel like I want to cheer or something. I'm not sure what the right response is, but yes. And I just think, one of the things that drives me the most crazy is the rhetoric that small businesses are bad investments, right? They're risky investments. Well, if I'm going to spend my money to save the economy, I'm better to put it over here because that's less risky, right? How is there anything less risky than women like you, right? People who are sacrificing everything, moving yourself to minimum wage, doing literally everything in your power to protect the mission of your work, the teams you hire, the communities you serve. I just feel like that's the biggest thing we've gotten wrong in the story of small business, right? Small business is not it's not a risk. It's probably the safest investment you could make when you realize the types of humans that are running these companies, and the tenacity and the perseverance and the depths, the lengths we will go in pursuit of the missions that we're fighting for. And I hope for everyone listening, my ask would be, right, listen to these stories. These are two women who are representative of every small business that I certainly know right now, who is, doing everything they can to make this work, to make this moment, to get through it and come out the other end stronger. And if there is a good risk, if there is a reason, to get money and resources moving, it is to support organizations like these. Do you guys have final comments? If you could sort of give a final parting comment to the executives who are listening, and you could say, this is what you could do. This is what would be helpful to me right now. Please, please do this. What would that be?
I guess I would say, when they're looking at where they or how they want to invest their funds on a global level, invest in CDFIs. If you don't want to give to an individual, community development, financial institutions, because that they are not only going to identify what the needs of those individuals are, but they're going to create or develop a program that's going to help them be successful. And they're also going to, they're going to monitor that, which if they need metrics, that'll allow them to have their metrics that they need to see what their return on their investment is. I think, it's very important that that would be a great start if they want to donate to an organization, donate to something like that, someone that's, identified where those needs are, and that's able to, whether it's, I know in my industry, some of the things we struggle with are, access to capital. And maybe there just may be an educational piece that we actually may need as well. So they're able to provide that lending to businesses that may not qualify for, through the typical financial institutions. And they're also able to provide the education that's needed for them to be successful, to give us the skill sets that we need to not only get a seat at the table, but if we do get that seat, to be successful, because that's important. You want to be able to have those opportunities, but you also want to be able to have what you need to actually be successful. So that they're able to, investing in those type of entities will give them that, that surety, and also enable them to kind of see a return on their investment. And also I would say, find a small business that aligns whatever their vision is, that aligns however they want to impact the world. So whatever impact you want to make on the world, find a small business that, vision is the same, that aligns with that impact. Me personally, if I want to basically revitalize the communities block by block. So I would like corporations to buy blocks in the communities, so that I can, understand that I was able to, make it out of New Orleans and, enjoy some success with my business. But I know that's not the truth. That's not the reality for a large percentage of the people that are in the communities that I grew up with. So I would like to, just reach back and meet them where they are. A lot of times, corporations come up with solutions or things that they want to do. And there's always something that has to be given from the individual that's receiving it. So, if you want to positively impact communities, align yourself with companies or small businesses that are on the ground, that are doing that are invested in that want to, change the community, meet those individuals. And then you can also see, and you can see the return on your investment. You bought this block, and I can see that my company helped make a difference. We helped revitalize this neighborhood. We helped, allow those individuals to live in a community that they're proud to call home. We're able to provide, multi-use centers. So when we have situations like the pandemic and the kids have to, they have to go to virtual learning and they don't have the computers or the internet access. There's somewhere in their community that they can go to have access to those resources, to have access to training, after school training, training individuals within the communities with trades and skill sets that they need to have gainful employment. So if that's your vision, whatever your vision is, I just ask that you identify a small business and align yourselves with them. If you want to transform communities or impact communities, you can align yourself with my business. And that's what we're doing. That's what we do every single day. That's a part of the culture of our business. And, that would be what I would ask of those the businesses.
Awesome.
Here.
Yes. Okay, Jacqueline.
So I had long been thinking about alternate revenue streams for kindness.org, in that I never actually wanted us to be operating at the mercy of donors, and instead wanted to think about, what products could we offer that could help sustain the business, but is giving a value and a return back to whoever the constituents are that we're serving. So we definitely don't want, I thought this might happen at some point today. This is my son.
He can join. He can come in.
See, that's a challenge that you have that no one would know.
Real. Yeah, this is real
it's
life.
A real challenge. It is.
Here we are. Don't worry, it's okay.
Woo! Okay, real life. That is real life. I know we've all had those situations.
It's okay. This is it.
I'm a parent of two, so I understand completely.
So we had done some work last year investigating the link between kindness and the effect it has on employee engagement, well-being, life satisfaction. And we had tabled it to concentrate our efforts on Workkind, our curriculum for the classroom, because I definitely was feeling that pull of trying to deliver two major things to market. So Workkind is officially off the ground. I guess that would be one ask. On a personal note, if any of you in the audience are parents connected to your school district, we are gearing up to really ensure that we're supporting educators, families, and students with all the tools they need around social emotional learning, which is probably going to be the most critical component of back to school time because of what we're facing right now around safety, health, and wellness. So that would be one thing. If I can help you there, I'm going to give my email me, and I'll give you all the information you need to get your school to be a participant in that. It is a free curriculum. Actually, free curriculum, I'm going to give a shout out thanks to one of the corporate partners who's investing into this and ensuring the sustainability, which is Nivea. So thank you, Nivea, for your support, because it's so vital right now. Workplace side, the revenue stream that we're developing is called Workkind, And it's basically where we will come in and provide almost like a Kickstarter kindness challenge for your company during this time. And it's evidence-based. We'll do a scientific assessment where we're helping you understand the impact kindness has on your company across things like engagement and well-being. And we'll house everything so you don't have to deal with internet security, whatever. And we're trying to pilot that in Q4 this year. So I am trying to identify 10 companies who want to join us in that. We're looking for a donation as part of that experience, and that will invest into ensuring 2021 we can continue the work we're doing in the classroom. So my email is Jacqueline, JACLYN @kindness.org. I'd love to hear from you. Even if you just have questions, I try to respond to everyone. I believe in this work. I believe we all have kindness in us, and it's about figuring out how to tap into it and use it more and cultivate it like a muscle. But it really is our greatest asset, I believe. And I am fervently wanting it to be at the forefront of everything: workplace, schools, communities. It's about humanity. We're all on equal playing field, even though it doesn't look like it oftentimes. I believe that's the vision we should be working towards, is every human has equity and equality, and it's going to take a lot of work for that to be the reality. So email me. I'd love to get in touch and figure out how I can work with you.
Awesome. And I will say that we're going to make sure that all of you can find these two amazing women. And I would just end by saying, the thing that is so loud and clear to me in this session, right? The way that corporations can come along beside small businesses, it's partner, it's buy, it's invest, it's adopt, it's work together. I don't know a small business that's looking for a freebie right now. Every small business I know wants to just do their work. They want to have customers. They want to have partnerships. They want to do work. And so I challenge all of you listening. You all have expense budgets. You all have program budgets. Instead of using the other, organizations that you may typically use, buy from small businesses. Move that money to small business vendors and suppliers and partners. And that alone changes the economy, changes the realities of every single small business that you partner with. And that gets us through this moment. That makes us stronger for it. So Cicely and Jacqueline, thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful for both of the work you guys do, for your time. I have no doubt you will get through this, and your tenacity and your perseverance will make you better for it. So thank you guys for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.